In this video, we're diving into the world of arrays in C programming. We will explore how to assign and read values from arrays. Arrays are fundamental data structures that allow you to store multiple elements of the same type under a single variable name. Let's get started. Arrays in C must be declared before they can be used. Arrays can be declared and initialized in several ways. Method 1 involves declaring the array first, and then assigning values to each element individually. For example, you can declare an array of 5 integers named numbers, and then assign values to numbers at index 0, numbers at index 1, numbers at index 2, numbers at index 3, and numbers at index 4. Method 2 involves declaring and initializing the array at the same time using curly braces. For example, int numbers of size 5 equals 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 enclosed in curly braces. Method 3 involves letting the compiler determine the size of the array based on the number of elements provided during initialization. For example, int numbers where the size is not explicitly defined equals 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 enclosed in curly braces. In C, you are allowed to initialize only some elements of an array. If you initialize only a few elements, the remaining elements are automatically initialized to 0. For example, if you declare an integer array numbers of size 5 and initialize only the first 3 elements with 10, 20, and 30, the remaining 2 elements, numbers at index 3 and numbers at index 4, will be initialized to 0. You can initialize all elements of an array to 0 by providing 0 as the initial value during declaration. For example, int numbers of size 5 equals 0 enclosed in curly braces will initialize all 5 elements to 0. Another way to initialize all the elements with 0 is by just using empty curly braces. To read a value from an array, use the array name followed by the index of the element you want to access, enclosed in square brackets. For example, to read the value at index 2 from the array numbers, you would use numbers at index 2. The value at that index can be assigned to a variable called value. Array elements can also be used in expressions, just like regular variables. For example, you can add the values at index 0 and index 4 of the array numbers, and assign the result to the variable sum. To modify an array element, use the array name followed by the index of the element you want to modify, enclosed in square brackets. Then, use the assignment operator to assign the new value to that element. For example, to change the value at index 3 of the array numbers to 45, you would use numbers at index 3 equals 45. You can also modify array elements using expressions. For example, you can multiply the value at index 1 of the array numbers by 2 and assign the result back to numbers at index 1. C does not perform automatic bounds checking on arrays, which means it does not automatically check whether an index is within the valid range of the array. For example, if you declare an array numbers of size 5, valid indices are from 0 to 4. Accessing numbers at index 5, which is out of bounds, will lead to undefined behavior. Accessing elements outside the array bounds can lead to program crashes, data corruption, or security vulnerabilities. Arrays are stored in contiguous memory locations, meaning the elements are placed one after another in memory. Each element occupies the same amount of memory, which is 4 bytes for an integer. The array name, such as numbers, points to the memory address of the first element in the array. Let's look at a complete example that shows how to use arrays in C. Here we have a program that declares an array scores of size 5, initializes it with some values, calculates the sum of all the scores, calculates the average score, and displays the results. It is always a good practice to initialize arrays when declaring them to avoid garbage values. Use symbolic constants such as #define size 5 for array sizes to improve maintainability. Manually check array bounds before accessing elements to prevent undefined behavior. Use array size in loop conditions rather than hard-coded values. Consider using functions like memset for bulk initialization of large arrays. It's important to remember that array indices start at 0, not 1. This is a common mistake for beginners. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.